This is a warning to all broker who acting on behalf of the buyer. I just finished talking to a buyer's mandate, buyer's agent. They encountered disaster in Conakry Guinea. I just finished talking. Now this buyer from Dubai, he traveled with no invitation. He get his visa in Dubai. They were talking to a seller, and then they traveled to Conakry, and he arrived yesterday, and the seller didn't show up. The answer is the seller was also hesitant. That is why the seller didn't meet the buyer in the airport. That is why the seller didn't show up. Why? Because the seller is not certain whether the buyer is really going to buy. Maybe the buyer is a window shopper. Now the buyer got his own visa from Dubai and he traveled to Conakry, Guinea without any contract. So now I turn it down. The buyer's mandate called me that his buyer is in Conakry, Guinea. They wanted to buy 100 kilos. I turn it down because our policy that the buyer has to be invited. The buyer has to sign a contract prior to buyer's arrival. The contract is subject. I think if you really watch my video to video, I really explain it thoroughly. But most of you buyers mandate, you are not helping your buyer. You are not. You are just taking for granted. Now your buyer is stuck in Conakry, Guinea. I wouldn't be able to help. So I advise the buyer's agent that's better walk into the central bank or walk into Department of Mines because my seller would not touch any buyer is on the ground. Our policy, the buyer has to be invited. My seller will issue the landing visa prior to buyer's arrival. Now, Mr. Buyer, I know you're hesitant. Now, you're a little bit of excited. You get your own visa. You travel to Conakry, Guinea. What happened? You cannot find the person that you are dealing with. The real buyer, the real seller, has to have an agreement. I will repeat again to any buyer's mandate or buyer, this is $1 million you're buying. You have to know each other. Wilhelmina is a mandate. Wilhelmina is the one who brought this on social media so that the buyer would not encounter disaster. You are encountering disaster after disaster after disaster. I am not an agency here. Our policy is very simple and very concise and very thorough. If you are watching my video and the full corporate offer is in front of you, I can guarantee you will not encounter disaster. Now, the buyer arrived yesterday. And the buyer's mandate, whoever the broker, I'm not going to mention her name and his names, they call me. 100 kilos, I turn it down. I'm not excited at 100 kilos. I don't know if the buyer can afford to pay 100 kilos because our selling price is 5%. And the buyer asking more 5%. I said to the buyer, I will give you more than 5%, but I need to be with you. I need to be with the buyer. Why? The seller will turn you down. But if I am with the buyer, I arrived the day before the buyer arrived, and I would be in the airport together with my driver because you are a company guest, then you're gonna be happy. You will not encounter disaster. Disaster means you fail. So I turn it down. Just now, I turn it down. I'm not excited. Now, Mr. Potential Buyer, whoever you are, listen very carefully on this video. Whether you buy gold in Bamako, Mali, Conakry, Guinea, Sierra Leone, exactly the same. You deal direct to us. We are real. We are transparent. Wilhelmina is the instrument. The seller hired Wilhelmina to market globally. And I am the only person who brought this on social media so that you as the buyer, you as the investor, you will see Wilhelmina. I'm going to talk to Wilhelmina. I want the guidance of Wilhelmina. Now, my seller is in Bamako, Mali, Conakry, Guinea, and Sierra Leone. We have gold and diamond. I don't deal Ghana anymore. I used to handle the seller in Ghana. I fired them all. Don't come to Ghana. You will never get gold. You will never become successful in Ghana. The gold in Ghana coming from different border. They imported because Ghana short supply. Because the government suspended the license to a small miner. So I wouldn't touch Ghana. Mali is the third largest gold producer in West Africa. Conakry Guinea is the land of plenty. Yes, Conakry Guinea speak French. Yes, Bamako, Mali speak French, but my seller speak English. In Conakry Guinea, my driver speak English. The manager speak English. The owner, the old man, 75 years old, he speak very fluent English. The son, he speak very fluent English. Everybody speak English in the office. My seller in Conakry Guinea owned the concession, but he wouldn't barge in your bargain. Take it or leave it, 5%. However, I have the power to give you extra. And I have the power to advise my seller to give you a leeway. But if you're dealing with so many broker, well, you as the buyer, you have to pay your broker. What is the cost of buyers and seller? Failed because there's so many middlemen in one buyer. Now, Mr. Buyer, if you're watching, I know you've been window shopping online. You go on different pages and different group on Facebook. Facebook is an advertising site. There are 6.6 billion followers. That is fine. We are now on the internet superhighway. The only person who put her face is Wilhelmina. Most of you are scared to show your face. Why? Like one buyer from South Africa, he's scared to show his face. One buyer from United States and in Africa, in Johannesburg, in Dubai, in Hong Kong, in Singapore, in Bangladesh, they're scared to show their face. A minute you're scared to show your face, you have an agenda. You are not a buyer. A real buyer will talk to Wilhelmina. I'm going to ask the buyer, open your camera. I want to see you. Because I'm going to interview you like when you apply for a job. This is $1 million, Mr. Buyer, you are buying. The seller hired Wilhelmina. I am the gateway to secure supply. My seller owned the concession. My seller has been in gold business in Mali 20 years. In Conakry, Guinea, my seller been in gold business this generation to generation. They've been in business for 30 years. They own the mine. They own the concession. They have 7 concessions. They produce gold and diamond, but you wouldn't get the gold. If you just arrive in Conakry and in Bamako, Mali, you call Wilhelmina that you're on the ground, I wouldn't be able to help you. Because our policy, I have to know who you are, Mr. Buyer. You read on the full corporate offer. On this video, click, you will see. Now, I'm going to summarize. Mr. Buyer, you watch this video, you read the full corporate offer. 3 things I'm going to ask you. Your business license, your proof of fund, your bank statement, and your passport. When you send a letter of intent, that's it. You will be scrutinized by Wilhelmina. Then we will send you a contract. I will be with you, but I do charge my extra service. I do. So that you will not encounter disaster. So now you are in Conakry, Guinea right now. I wouldn't be able to help you. I wouldn't. Even though you said, Wilhelmina, I'm gonna pay cash. Show me. I have not seen your bank statement. The value of $100 kilos, yeah, our selling price is $43,000. 43,000 times 100. That is 43 million. All right, 43,000 times 100. This is the amount. I don't know if you have this on 100 kilos. This is what the agent was saying. We're willing to pay bank to bank. Yeah, convince me. Mhm. You don't have 43 million. Mhm. So that is the reason why, Mr. Buyer, you failed. Today you failed. I wouldn't be able to help you at all. So I wish you good luck. And to those potential buyer, do not travel without invitation. Do not. You will encounter disaster 100%. This is what it happened, this Dubai buyer. He get his visa. He doesn't trust the seller. He went to Conakry Guinea. I'm sure this buyer is window shopping at the same time. Mhm. Is window shopping on the right price. Go in Conakry Guinea, you will never get the cheap price. Nah, you will never. The real seller would not sell his gold cheap. You know, to mine the gold is not easy. And you, as the trader, you want to get an instant profit. You wanted to become instant millionaire. Gold is money you're buying. You must remember. So I don't know if you've been watching my video. You've been floating around and running and chasing. And then at the end of the day, you come to Wilhelmina. I wouldn't be able to help you. I'm traveling to Bamako, Mali, my next trip. I just been to Conakry, Guinea. But however, I will budget my time. I will only travel when the buyer is real. I wouldn't travel if the buyer is not real. What a waste of time. I do charge Mr. Buyer my travel cost to accompany you so that you will not encounter disaster. Now, there's a buyer right now, disaster. The seller didn't show up. There's no contract. He just want to get the visa. So that is the fault of the buyer. So that's all my advice. The full corporate offer is in here. Take time to read. Take time to listen. Digest it. And if you have still a little bit of question, you come, open your camera. Don't be scared. Because I want to see you. I want to psychologize you. I want to determine whether you're a buyer or not. Just like when you apply for a job. You want to get the position, you will be interviewed. You are buying $450,000 worth of gold on 10 kilos. If you are going to buy 100 kilos, this is $43 million worth of gold. So therefore, I need to scrutinize you. I need to know how are you able to pay. I need to know who you are. I need to know whether you're a buyer or not. Maybe you are just pretending to be a buyer. You don't have 43 million. I'm sure you're going to ask for CIF. This is FOB. Show me your bank statement that you have 43 million on $100, 100 kilos. I will believe. That is why I always advise the buyer, start a trial, 10, 20 kilos. You're going to build your trust to my seller. In Conakry, Guinea, yes, they are French-speaking people, but my seller speaks fluent English. You go on my page, Mr. Buyer, you will see how I handle the buyer. My trip in Conakry, Guinea is successful. It's very successful because I am on the ground. Thank you very much, Mr. Buyer. I'm sorry I wouldn't be able to help you, that you are already on Conakry, Guinea. I couldn't. And I wish you good luck. Thank you very much. Have a pleasant good evening.